we're going to continue to have declining whites in the younger years, or at least slow-growing whites, depending on what state that you're in. And all of the gains, or most of the gains, in your child populations are going to come from these new minority groups, especially Hispanics.
This is At Brookings, a weekly in-depth look at issues behind the news. This week, America's racial tipping point. Today's majority becomes tomorrow's minority.
The complexion of America is changing, literally. New statistics culled from the 2010 census show what demographers have long predicted. America's minorities will soon be the majority. In a tipping point for the nation's racial makeup, Hispanic, Black, and Asian toddlers now outnumber their white counterparts.
I'm going to tell you this right now. The leading population in America is Hispanics. Hispanics, they typically have anywhere between 4 to 6 kids um, per household. That's the average. I think the minimum is like 4. So the women will continue to have kids until they can't have kids anymore. So, but the average amount of kids in each Hispanic household is about 4 to 6. So in America, ain't nobody beating that. So I guess blacks come right behind them, but they're not touching that. They're not touching those kind of numbers. Now, I know in the poor community, a lot of the black women, they'll have kids, but they'll do that for government assistance, for the benefits. Hispanic women that comes to America as well will do that, but um, whether they're rich or poor, Hispanics are going to have kids regardless. So that's just what it is. And then, of course, white people, they'll probably have 1 to 2 kids, maybe 3, but the average is like 2 kids. That's not even it's not in every household. So, but Hispanic household, that's pretty much in the 90 over the 90 percentile as far as them having kids. In the black community, um, not as much. That's mainly in the poor communities, the poor black communities, that women will have a lot of kids, and that's typically from different guys. And then the white community, that's not every household. And if the ones that do have kids in the white community, it's normally like 2, 3 max. So yeah.
It's an irreversible trend that presents both opportunities and challenges, says senior fellow William Fry.
The new data that just came out show that we've reached a very important tipping point for 3-year-olds. There are 49.9% of 3-year-olds in the United States who are white Anglo-Americans, which means there's now more than half of 3-year-olds who are minorities of one sort or another, largely Hispanic, but also Asian Americans, African Americans. And this is very important because, of course, the 3-year-olds will become 4-year-olds and then continue to progress up, which means that our future of schools and eventually our labor force is going to have a lot to do with the new minority population, especially the new immigrant minorities, even if they're not immigrants themselves, they're second generation, third generation, but it's new for a lot of parts of the country.
Well, these findings that the population is shifting more towards a minority majority can't be unexpected.
There are quite a few places in the country where we've reached this tipping point for a while. Hawaii, New Mexico, California, Texas, more recently Nevada, Florida, Arizona have gotten to this stage. And these are places that either historically have had...
You notice on the, let me see, reverse it. All right, you see right here on the map, the bottom. So these are all the, they say, it's fresh out the boat. Of course, Mexico, they literally just, walk or drive to Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, and then Florida. You have all these other little islands. Cuba, you see Cuba right here, and they just simply just get on a boat and just head straight to Florida. Pretty much Mexicans are all throughout the United States, but they're dominant in these areas just because it's right there, close to their borders or close to their countries. And I know about Florida. They say they're pretty much taking over Florida, or they're damn near um, will take over Florida. All the Cubans. They're pushing all the white and black people um, outside of Florida, like towards Alabama and stuff like that. They're still there, but pretty much Cuba has formed their own community in Florida, and they're trying to take it over. So, I mean, of course, you'll see Hispanics in New York, Idaho, Wyoming. Not so many, not so much of them, but of course, these highlighted areas that's in red, they're dominant there. So that's because it's close to their. It's either on the border, like in Mexico, and of course, a lot of other Hispanics from different groups. They'll just migrate all the way through Mexico, and then they'll come to Texas, and that's pretty much how that is. So they normally just stay here. Texas is a hub, a huge hub for Hispanics. I know California as well, Arizona, New Mexico, and then Florida is pretty much flooded with Cubans. So yeah, you have that.
Have gotten to this stage, and these are places that either historically have had minority populations. Mississippi is one of them too, historically large black populations, or places that have gotten a lot of new immigrants like Nevada and Arizona. And it's the beginning of what might be happening, and certainly what will be happening in a huge number of other parts of the country. Not too far down the road, we're going to see Maryland, Louisiana, be part of this, and other parts of the South, other parts of the West, and eventually some of the Northeast and Midwest will be part of this trend.
Well, you say that immigration isn't the largest reason why we're seeing this shift in population.
If immigration would stop right now, we are eventually becoming more minority. Now, minority may have an odd sense to it if more people are of these groups than are Anglos, but we should just say groups other than Anglos, white Anglo-Americans, will eventually become the majority, but it'll be a long way out if there's no more immigration. Immigration certainly gets this going. But in a lot of states, California being one of them, the growth of the Hispanic population is more due to natural increase than it is to immigration, because there's now momentum that has been built over several generations of immigrants and second, third generation of Hispanics that have been in California, New Mexico, other places are like that already.
What are some of the key challenges associated with this change in population?
We kind of know what this is going to look like in different states and different cities over the next 10 years. It's changing dramatically. And it means that we have to have our schools and other institutions be ready to deal with a multi-ethnic population, people speaking different languages, not just Spanish, but a whole range of languages in some of the urban school districts. And, it's difficult, it's expensive, it's challenging, but it's absolutely necessary.
And see, this is the thing, it's already happening now, but white people, they typically don't want to be around non-white people. So they're known for going to private schools or, moving outside the city. I know a long time ago, but it's kind of been a back and forth since, I think, but since the 50s, the 60s, ever since they did, they had the civil rights movement and stuff like that, they started allowing colored kids to go to the same schools, and desegregation is what I'm talking about. So at first it was in the city, then they did desegregation, and now they moved out the city, and then now they're trying to go back into the city. But as this large group of immigrants or illegals or non-white people start to flood the United States, they're gonna start to go back out into the not necessarily the suburbs. They're passing the suburbs. They're trying to go even further out because they just don't want to be around non-white people as far as living conditions, and pretty much at, anywhere. Maybe somewhere, certain public places, they'll accept it, like like a sporting event, a concert. But as far as like grocery stores or schools, neighborhoods, they don't want to be around colored people. So um, they're gonna just move even further out. But the thing about that is, it won't matter, because as their population decreases and everyone else's population increases, they have no choice but to deal with it. So all the tactics they're using, like redlining, and they have these jobs to where they keep all the colored people at the bottom, uh, and all the white people are at the top, higher ups, and the CEOs and stuff like that. Um, it's coming to an end because again their birth rate is super low. That's why they passed that law to where you couldn't have an abortion because it wasn't meant for everyone. It's meant for the white women because they noticed white women was having abortions at a high rate. So that's why they passed a law saying, oh, it's illegal to have abortions in certain states because of that. But as time go on, it's nothing they really can do about it. They just have to just deal with it because again, they're not keeping up with their own population, and everyone else's population is steady growing. So it's just a matter of time. But again, the tactics they use back in the day used to benefit them. Now it's okay. Well, you're not the majority anymore, so you're gonna have to live amongst the people that you hate. Long story short, so that's just how the cookie crumbles. So
For us to come to grips with this, because these are the people that are forming our labor force in the next 10 or 20 years as the older white and African American baby boomers start retiring out of the labor force. These are the folks that are going to be there, and we want to make sure that they have the best opportunity to get good jobs and to make us a prosperous country, as past immigrant waves have done in helping us get where we are today.
The numbers show that Hispanics, African American, and Asians have higher birth rates than Caucasians do. Is this one of the main reasons we're seeing this trend?
The way demographic structure has changed and the aging of the white population overall, that about 40 states, when the census results are done, are going to show absolute declines in their white child populations. These are people under 18 years of old. So it's a demographic phenomenon that's based on the older white population and lower fertility of the whites who are in their childbearing years. That's not going to bounce back.
Well, what are the opportunities inherent in this population shift?
If we're going to become a player in the global economy, first of all, we need to have two things. One, a labor force that's growing. This is different than Japan and some European countries where they have difficulty in bringing in immigrants or understanding why it's important to bring in immigrants. So that we have, and that's very important. But also, we have these connections to other countries by virtue of people having, relationships, business relationships, family relationships, just understanding how to communicate with people in different parts of the world is quite important, I think, for us. And what we need to do is make sure these folks have the educations they need to take advantage of what they bring naturally to the United States. And I think that's where both the opportunity and the challenges arise.
Stay up to date.
yes, I mean at the end of the day, it's coming to an end for them. Um, especially with the economy is now, everything's just crazy expensive. Um, less people are actually having kids due to that. So on top of them slowly reproducing, a lot of them are not having kids, not because they don't want to, it's just they can't afford it. So you have that going on as well. But the simple solution would be to just start having a bunch of white kids with your white women. A lot of white women don't want to have any white kids. By white men, they want to have kids outside of their group. Um, and on top of that, white men are actually helping with their demise because, whether you want to believe it or not, it's a huge group of white men that's having these mixed babies, and it doesn't count. Um, I know a lot of Hispanics, Asians, you know, even black people, black women believe that they have a kid by a white man, that the kid is automatically going to be white. It doesn't work that way. If you get um, a black color and a white color, they'll never come out white. They'll never come out. If you get a yellow color and a white color, it'll never come out white. If you get a brown color and a white color, it'll never come out white. But for those white worshipers, they're just so desperate to where they want to be included into the white community, which they'll never be. That they think that by getting with a white man, let alone having a kid by a white man, that their status has uh, has increased. It's like going from a Toyota to a Mercedes. That's the way a lot of those divestors feel. Now, I know that white men will typically stay with an Asian woman um, longer than any other group of women. especially with Hispanics, because you know, you gotta understand that these white guys look at these women as fetishes, and a lot of them know that, but they just try to go along with the program, and it's a dead giveaway because if he really cared about you, why are you not representing your heritage? You know where you're from, instead of you trying to portray a white woman. So of course, all these white guys they don't like that. They just like to fetishize over these women until they get tired of them, then they get rid of them. But yeah, so even though they try to, they might not have much melanin, or they might have pale skin, they just automatically assume they're white. In reality, they're far from that. So many conversations I heard from white women, and they're quickly to get angered whenever another woman from outside their community, try to false claim that they too are a white woman. So it'll never fly. Um, every time you see a non-white woman with a white guy, she's always the outsider. She is never her family with his family. Is always the non-white female hanging out with the white guy's family every single time. So no matter how much they bleach their skin, they change their hair color, or they try to mimic a white girl, they'll never be accepted, because at the end of the day, they're a traitor. So no one respects a traitor. So they're just going through life, being used and abused. And then at some point, the white guy will eventually get tired of them and leave. But I know in the Asian community, the white guy typically stay with the Asian woman a little longer, even though all they are a fetish. But for the most part, yeah. But other than that, it's a lot of single divestors out there for that reason, because they have self hate, and they just carry it to the grave. They just never get out of that hypnosis, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, there's plenty of white guys out there that have a whole lot of mixed kids. They don't take care of them, but they do have a lot of mixed kids on top of their women um, refusing to have kids with them. So that's just making it even speeding up the process of their demise. So that's just where we're at. You know, um, at the end of the day, if you're not white and you have a kid by a white guy, that kid is not white. I don't care how much you want to believe that kid is white. At the end of the day, everybody know they can identify their own people. You can't fool a white person to think that a mixed kid is 100 is white. It's 100% white. They can tell, just like I can tell if a person is black or Mexican, or I can tell. No matter how much you try to convince them, it doesn't matter. So it is what it is. But yeah, I heard about this years ago. I think I was in high school. I heard about one of our professors talking about this. But it's just in one ear and out the other. But as years go on, this subject, this topic is being talked about even more and more each day. Um, it's actually happening again. Uh, as far as the birth rate in America, white people are at the bottom. Is going to be Hispanics, and then so many steps behind, it's going to be black people. I know you got Africans, but we're gonna say as a whole, black people, and I don't know about Asians, because I know they don't have a lot of kids. Um, like that, they don't really have a lot of kids, but like the article said, that they're at the bottom. So it's Asians, and then it's white people. So as far as reversing that, there's nothing you can do about it. Um, you literally will have to have 20 kids per white woman. Like every white woman in America literally would have to have like 20 kids to even like get to that second place, or third place, um, as far as the birth rate. But as far as what's going on now, a lot of them are doing interracial dating. That's just what it is. I mean, as time go on, color won't be a problem. Everybody have their preference, but you can't do nothing about it. So unless you out here just having 20 kids per white woman, get at about another, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years or something like that, you probably be in a different situation. But we all know that's not going to happen. And as long as they keep having these mixed kids, it's never going to happen. It's just what it is. They're going to eventually fizzle out. So very interesting story. again, I heard about it years ago, but never paid no attention. But now I'm seeing it, and they have these clinics no longer doing doing these these birth, these pregnancy removals, and in certain states, of course, but at the end of the day, it's just evolution. It's just evolution. So, all right, guys, if you watched the video, what you think? Let me know down below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and no matter what, always take your peace, your pockets, and your purpose.